Hello everyone and welcome to arghanionspuzzlebox. Today we have a special video. It's a video commentary. It's something that I've been looking at doing for a while. Basically, it's the project from one of the people that are watching this channel. They've submitted some work for the Minerva Challenge, a video short film, and they wanted my feedback on it. So I decided to make a video. I think sharing it with everybody else will help everybody else grow as well, and also feedback can be given to the creator and to myself about things that I may have missed, or things that would improve the project overall. Feel free to contact me about doing this for your project as well if you'd like. If I find that the material is interesting enough, I will be making a video in which I can provide you feedback on your project. People do this on Discord all the time. They provide me with loads of projects that I look at and come back with feedback about what they've made. So if you want to do that, and instead of having a YouTube video made of your project on my channel, then we can do that as well. We can talk on Discord and I will give you my feedback. But let's not delay it any further. Let's start the video commentary. The video is made by Victor Trifan. I think I'm saying that right. He looks to be an extraordinary creator. He's only started using Unreal Engine 5 a couple of months ago, and the work that he's achieved with it is already really good. So let's have a look at his video, and then we'll do we'll analyze it step by step and see where things could have been improved or things could have been done differently. Again, that is my opinion. I'm sure other people have different opinions.
Okay then, tell me, how would you describe us?
Us? As in, who's us?
Us. Humans. The human being. Have you ever seen anything like us? We're the most superior race in the whole fucking universe.
You can't say the most superior race, you idiot. It's a double superlative.
Oh, who says I can't?
The English fucking dictionary.
Look, whatever. I'm saying we're both the alpha and the omega. Top of the fucking food chain. We go straight to the most hostile planets and make them our bitch. Bitch meaning a comfortable home for our asses to settle in. Now, doesn't that make us literally the most intelligent creatures to ever see the light of?
Yeah, Gus. Sure, Gus. Whatever you say, Gus.
Enough, you two. Gus, go for the job. We didn't push this pile of metal all the way up here to have to listen to a stream of metaphysical bullshit.
Roger, sir. Shuttle undocked. I'm going in. Scanners show a single area with life activity. No intelligence, no comms, nothing. It's probably some kind of bugs or larva.
Sir, I strongly recommend that we try and get in touch with them. We are not sure that they are or they are not sentient. We should...
That's a negative, Sergeant. We have 2 hours to get down safe, otherwise we'll get down hard.
Oh my god, just look what I found. Bugs. Just bugs. Ha! Told you. Intelligent creatures. The most intelligent creatures. That's what we are.
What can I say, Gus? For once, you're the most intelligent guy in the room.
Oh, okay. I see we have a comedian here. Remind me to tell you some good jokes later.
Gus, you're cleared to drop the package.
Roger that, sir. Preparing to drop the package. Container armed. Delivery in progress. Package dropped. Mission complete. I'm heading back for deployment.
Roger that.
Just for the record, sir, let it be noted that I was against this Inhumane Act.
I know, but it's a matter of survival already. It's us, or them. And it's not gonna be them. Not to mention that it was the perfect place for the settlement.
Look at this beauty. Intelligent creatures. That's what...
Oh, enough already. Have you no compassion? Don't you ever think about what if...
You two stop immediately and supervise the descent. Make sure all gyros are working and that the geolocation is synced. Congratulations, everybody. We'll have our settlement in no time. Tonight, we celebrate. Tomorrow, we start working. Beers on me, 800 hours, community center. I guess you're right, Gus. We are one of a kind. We came in a shithole to make it our paradise. That's alchemy right there, brother.
Well, told you, sir. Ha! You know, I could swear that we're sitting in the exact spot where those bugs were.
Yo, Gus, let me drink 2 beers so I can have an excuse for punching you.
Hey, Nat, look. I know how you feel, and I'm sorry, but I'm really not gonna...
Sir?
Up in the sky. Look, that's...
Looks like us?
This is fucking ridiculous. Sergeant, open up all channels. Let's see what you can find.
I only hear it comes from the moment we came. It's like... Oh, wait. Everything is gonna repeat?
What the...
This is ridiculous.
Sir, this is exactly how I got here.
Prepare for engagement. We should be able to communicate visually once they're here.
Commander, that's my ship. That's me, sir. Jesus fucking Christ, what's happening?
Gus, don't you fucking stand here. Signal. Signal the goddamn ship. Nah, radio.
Nothing. Just Gus being superior. How do you feel, Gus? Still no superior creature?
Oh, crap, this isn't happening. Oh, fuck, that's a 60 megaton bomb. I just dropped a 60 megaton bomb in this exact place.
Natalie, Gus, take cover. Now. That's an order.
Not gonna leave you alone, Commander. Not now.
I'm going in. I'll try to disarm it manually.
Sir, stop! There's not enough time! Commander, stop!
Take cover now!
Father, please stop!
Let me tell you a good joke. One with bugs. No, with bees. A sushi met with a bee. The sushi said, "Wasabi!" Come on, you didn't get it? Wasabi. It's from wasabi.
Okay, so that was something. I definitely enjoyed the video. I must say it really caught me by surprise, the story behind it and what happened. I do think you've probably tried too much to tell your audience what was going on. I feel like the characters' reactions and the dialogue didn't really suit the scene as much as you might have thought when you first put it together. Generally, when you have a theme like time travel, time loops, and so on, yes, you do need to spell out it out to your audience quite often so they can understand it. But I think for a short film, that kind of works against it because you don't have a full featured film. You don't have the time to waste on things like that. People either get it or they don't, and I feel like they just would have got it. Again, your character is sort of acted in a way that doesn't really make sense in the respect of it looks like the doom is about to fall on them, and they just don't move or they don't react to the imminent danger as you'd expect. And I understand obviously the limitations of doing something like that, which is very difficult to animate characters moving in the scene. But I just, try and think about people who get scared and want to obviously stop their impending doom. You did sort of do that right at the end, but I feel like because you spent too much time sort of for the characters explaining what was going on, they just didn't have enough time to actually take action a bit more. But yeah, moving on from that, let's have a look at the visual aspect of this, because we're gonna get to a bit more to what the characters do and what happens in the animation when we get there. I think overall it's good, but it could have been better with just a few cuts here and there, and just a few different shots and angles there. But now looking at the visual of this, I really like the establishing shot here. It's a star, looks really cool. You've got this star going on, and then the camera pans away all the way towards where the sort of the sequence will unfold. I don't really understand why the star is shining from the center. That's not, stars don't necessarily behave that way, so they would shine from the entire surface. And being this close, obviously, as you can imagine, your camera would have to have a very low exposure to even be able to see something like this. But looking at reference, and you'll obviously see that this effect, which is by the looks of it, a screen space effect, this wouldn't be there. So I would remove that entirely, and I think it would help your scene a lot more. And then looking at these jets, jets coming out of the star as well, I would reduce those in intensity and also size. You can sort of start seeing they're getting a bit choppy, because I think they're texture driven by the looks of it. So their effects are driven by texture, so either increase the resolution of the texture or just decrease their size. But either way, the intensity of it is a bit too much, I think. And then you've got this planet that I've seen that it just goes past here. I don't understand what's the trajectory of this planet. It sort of pulls me out of the scene a little bit. It might be because I'm a bit more of a geek than for stuff like this, but I don't know in your space scene and your viewport what's the trajectory of this planet. But it looks to me like it's not sort of rotating around this star. It's not in an oval shape, or it might be. I don't know, but it just feels like it just sort of goes from right to left, not that it's sort of circling the star. And then it cuts that lens flare, that flare from there, the brightness of the star. It just cuts it out. It passes through. It's cool, but it just wouldn't work that way. What I would have done here, I would have taken this planet and put it maybe at the back of the camera, and as you pass through, it sort of blocks the star halfway or 3/4 of it, and then it goes all the way, your camera goes all the way to where the ship is. But I understand what you were trying to do. I just feel like the scene would have been better without that planet going around. I see that you're using lens flare a lot right here. I can see the lens flare, and then it becomes a lot more apparent further down the line in other scenes. Not a big fan of lens flares, and I'll talk to you in a bit. I'll let you know in a bit why. But yeah, let's just keep going. And then you've got this shot here where you can see this planet where I believe the action is taking place. That atmosphere, I think the fallout of the atmosphere should have been smoother. You should have probably had maybe a bigger atmosphere, but less, a bigger fall off as well, so you can have a smoother transition here. And then also where the surface is, it feels like the atmosphere is way too dense. When we're on the surface, it doesn't look that way. I'm not sure. Again, I think that's just sort of my opinion, not necessarily something that would be something to criticize about. I really like the camera movement here as you approach this object, the ship. So that looks really good. And then this point, I can't shake the feeling like in the establishing shot of your star, you may have forgotten to also establish that we're in a binary system, and I'm not sure if we are. We might not be in a binary system, and if we're not in a binary system, then my question is, why is this side of the ship lit? Like, wouldn't it make sense that it was only lit from there and this would be completely dark? Now, I get there's probably a couple of things that have happened here. First of all, you wanted to have light on this planet, and you could have achieved that by using a different light source, maybe, even a second directional light. So you could have had your directional light at the back of this star. I've actually done this myself in a previous render that I've got on my YouTube channel. You can have a look for the solar system render video, where I do actually have a directional light at the back of the star, and that's there so it can create light shafts. And the directional light disk is as big as the star itself, so it looks really good. So I would have done that. And then I think for the atmosphere on the planet, you could have probably gone get a better result by just using the atmosphere of Unreal Engine, because I think that this one is just a bit too harsh. Again, here, if you would have established that you have a second star in the scene, like a binary system, then it would have made sense for this to also be lit, but at this point, it just doesn't. So again, you probably, another reason why you may have wanted to have this light here is because you wanted to show off all these details on the ship. If you look at shows like The Expanse, which is a really good show where it emphasizes a lot on the visuals of space, they use darkness a lot in their advantage. They try to hide detail even though they might have the resources to pull off better looking ships and so on. They just choose not to because space is an environment where less is more. So try and think about that. And also these assets, they're not movie quality assets. So they won't have the details of that. But the movement of the ship is really good. I really like how that functions. It makes sense to me. It looks really cool. I would have added some form of sort of propulsions there. I don't know if that sort of works with the theme that you were trying to go for. Maybe they're just using air. This scene looks really good. I really like how the ship is, seen with the background of the cosmic gas clouds there. One thing there to note, obviously, again, I don't know if it's a binary system or not, but you got light from the left, light from the right. I am not a fan of that. So you could have had a star here and a star here, because you can see it right there, right? That the shadow is pretty much sandwiched between two light sources. I think would have looked better without having a light source on the right side. And then here you could also add some fog cards, maybe right here at the bottom, to sort of engulf the ship a bit, to make it so that it feels like it's more a part of what's happening at the back. Give it a more of a volumetric effect, a more of a 3D volume effect, which I think would help this scene over here. And fog cards are generally quite easy to make and inexpensive, and they're 2D, so quite easy to do. Right, let's just keep going. In here, really like this animation. It looks really good. Too bad about the lens flares. The lens flares I'm not a fan of lens flares, guys. I'm honestly, anybody who sends me a video with lens flares in it, I'm just gonna say, just dump the lens flare, go in it, take it in the post-process volume and put it to 0, and then activate the dirt mask and put that to 100 and use that instead of a lens flare. It looks better than the lens flare. The lens flare makes your movie look like a game, and you will never get away from this. We need to wait for the guys at Epic to fix that for us, because right now it's just not usable. Going forward, I really like the movements here. I think the camera and the ship really complement each other. It sort of gives me a bit of a Mass Effect vibe here. I really like it. So yeah, this looks really good. I feel like you've done a lot of work here to move these thrusters around and make sure that it gives them a bit of a realistic sort of motion, and that it pushes the ship into a direction that works. I've liked this angle that you've done here with the ship dropping down towards space. That looks really good. This looks quite well as well. I think here, so right here where it sort of drops, so this looks good. I would have added a bit more of a sort of effect on the ship, as if it's got more sort of steam or something like that on it. Or dust, or whatever you want to call it, around it as it comes down. But then when it reaches the bottom here, I'm not sure I get this. Like, how can it so abruptly end its movement and then move forward? It feels a bit like, I don't know, like gamey, very video game, like a Sonic the Hedgehog kind of movement here. It just sort of stopped and just go forward, and then it also like even stops for like a second there and just sort of like rebalances and then boop, goes forward. I would have just sort of stopped, hover a bit, and then repositions its thrusters, and then it goes. But then you've got this scene where it goes between these mountains. That looks really good. I would have definitely looked at the mountains to make them a bit more interesting by adding more rocks and stuff on the sides here. And then I would have also added a bit of effects, because right here at the end, right here, there's a couple of things that are going on. So you've got this sort of smoke coming from the propulsion, I assume. That cuts off the moment the ship passes through. So you've got to look at, I'm not sure what sort of system you're using, but it's clear that it just cut off too abrupt. And then you have this dust that comes through, which is a nice touch. I like it. But I would have done more in the sense of the intensity of it. You see? The intensity there. I would have just done a lot more to come through here and maybe just guide it a bit to make sure that it sort of like really drives the idea that there was a lot of dust going on. Maybe even add like a textured stones and cliffs and whatnot here, where you can animate that and just make them move as the ship has passed through. Now, moving forward from this, you now have these movements here. I really like this top-down movement. I didn't like this rotation. You should have just kept it that way or rotate it like you did now, but slower. And then you have these things where you're doing all these sort of like movements and rotations. I get what you mean, but right at this point, right after this point here, what I would have done is I would have just attached the camera either to the ship or at the back of the ship, but keep the camera steady, or just drop the camera on top of the ship or below the ship and just keep it there. As the ship moves, the camera moves with it. But what you've done here is you've sort of kept the camera going in this tunnel in the same trajectory as the ship. The ship does all these movements, all these jerky movements around. The camera stays horizontal, following the ship, and then you know what I mean. It just has like these sort of like ping ponging around. But I would have literally just attached the camera to the ship, yeah. And then the camera would have felt the ship's movement, and the ship would have coordinated what the camera sees. And again, here it gets to this point. I don't understand why you were wouldn't the thrusters here, when they try to push forward, when they're trying to stop, shouldn't these thrusters like turn to the other side, or maybe two of them? So two of them can sort of thrust down, and two of them towards the front, so it just sort of stops the movement. Now you get to this sort of barren point here. I'm not a big fan of this window shot like this. I feel like, to me, it looks like the ship is like a box, like a very thin box in this perspective. So I don't know. I think things could have been done differently here. Then you can see the bugs here. I would have added more if you could have. If not, just make these have some reaction, like the sense of, make one of them go somewhere or the other one rotating or doing some animation. I know that's difficult. Obviously it takes time to do that, but it definitely worked. This particular scene, really cool. Really sells this scene was really sold quite well. I like the fact that you can see the character there looking at them, which is fine. I would have not switched to this camera again here. I just don't. Again, I don't necessarily feel like there was any point to do that. And then in here, where they're sort of like dropping this bomb, I don't know what sort of ship would have a system where the bomb is pushed out and then it falls on its platform before it falls down. I think like the payload system would have just been dropped down directly on the ground without hitting anything else in the ship. Because imagine how the logistics of that. What if it bounces into one of these sides or whatever, So it's something like that where, see, right there, why wouldn't it just sort of fall down and hit something in the ship? And, it's not something that anybody would sort of engineer into their ship in the future. They would do in the present, though, because people in the present do sort of tend to do that, especially if you come from certain parts of the world. But you do that, and they drop the bomb, and then they go. I don't know. You see, this thing where they go, I'm not sure where they went, feel like these thrusters wouldn't be able to give the ship that movement, like to be able to make it go sideways there. And then this particular shot here, again, feel very video gamey to me. So and then you sort of stop the camera right here. I would have just kept it looking further up. You then have this the bomb in here, and they're coming. You should have probably made them move a bit faster. They do feel very sluggish, considering that they're the people, they're actually the humans that we were looking at previously. The bomb here, when it fell down, I would have added another mesh with some gravel and rocks and stuff that sort of show an impact. At least the color would have changed when it dropped. And yeah, I think that overall this is not so much that you can improve on. It's not too bad, but it's not amazing either. There's just some things in there that could be done. Then you have this shot here where we're sort of like back in space. Things happen. For some reason, some of your space details have taken a big hit in sort of terms of quality. So I think the lighting on the ship has decreased. The planet has dramatically decreased. The atmosphere has completely decreased. And also that star at the back is not... I don't think it's even the same mesh. So I don't understand what happened here. But if this was something done after or prior to you making the first few scenes, I'm just saying that it kind of feels like what we've seen so far was a part, was the sequel, and what's happening right now is the prequel. But not the prequel, it's like the first movie, but then this is, and what happened previously was the second movie. Because you just had more the assets and everything there looked more improved than here, so I'm not sure. The movement of the ships and so on still there, but the asset quality has dropped. I'm not gonna, I like how you sort of like set up everything in here. I would have added, as I said, some sort of propulsions to these to help sell the scene more. Get rid of the lens flares. I don't know where the gas clouds have gone to, because there were quite a bit previously. I really like this scene here. I like what you've done there. I would have tried to add the effect of this sort of engulfing fire on the sides and around these other elements. I think that would have made this even better, but it's already really good, to be quite honest with you. I'm not sure what's over here. It looks like that star, but I don't know how it would show up. You can also see the jets from it, kind of, they're seen through the atmosphere. You've got this nice shot here, really good, establishing this is quite nice an angle. I would have also done when you're showing these, bombs or actually these meshes, not meshes, this base falling down. Remove the lens flare. As I said, it's not good. And then I would have also had a shot where you could see them from above dropping down to the planet, and maybe have like clouds and stuff that obscure them as they fall. Again, that star in the background, not sure what's going on there. And then yeah, you got this. I like what you've done with the parachute. I would have added more movement to it if possible. I know it's very difficult to do that, but that could have been an option. And then you have this sequence here, which is really, really good. I'm not sure if this came with the asset pack or not from Kitbash, but I think this is really good. It looks really good. Definitely understood what you've done here. Although the characters in the scene react as if this has been built pretty much in 5 minutes. That's how it feels like. I think time should have still passed. But I know that you were trying to push for this time loop story kind of thing. So I understand why you've done it. And that's why these guys are patting themselves on the back of how amazing they are, or one of them at least is saying how amazing they are. I think the quality on the masks here, the visors, you need to have some reflective surfaces there, not see-through, but just make them more reflective. The Unreal Engine 5 has some really good capabilities of that now, so I think it would have helped, because right now it feels very bland. They feel a bit out of place, like the actual visors feel out of place compared to the rest of the character. Again, this is the scene where a lot of the dialogue goes on and on about the fact that they're seeing the same ship coming down to do the same thing. These characters, I would have looked at making them move around, walk a bit, and you don't even need to show their legs as they're doing this, because you know you can do that. There's just your camera probably needs to get a bit closer to them as well. I can understand why you kept your distance, because you're trying not to show the characters up close. The textures aren't exactly, I think they're probably 4K here. You probably would have wanted to go for an 8K. And I would have gone the route of maybe doing nanite accessories on them and give them more detail, more fidelity. And you can have a look at one of my tutorials on YouTube where I show people how they can add nanite meshes to skeletal meshes, skeletal assets. So you can actually have nanite that is during it's on an animated character. This is quite cool, although I'm not sure how close that ship would have been to be seen like that, unless it was quite small and it was now hovering maybe 100, 200, 500 meters in the air. But if it was a few kilometers in the air and you can see it that way, I mean, yeah, it's not necessarily possible, especially not in a dense atmosphere. I think her visor looks the worst. I think that's the woman, isn't it? Isn't she the one in yellow? Then you have this ship coming through here. Again, these characters, they look shocked, but I still feel like they could have turned a bit more, walked a bit more, tried to run towards the ship as it was coming through. And then, the ship there, when it was moving, it didn't have any thrusters. So have a look at... Sorry about that. Have a look at fixing that. And now you have the characters. You do have some things going on here with the reflections and stuff. I'm not sure why it's turned into a perfect mirror and it's not even mirroring properly. So maybe have a look at what's going on there. And I think, again, if you go back, I mean, obviously this is already a done deal, but it's important that you go back and see what caused these issues to be able to rectify them in the future, because you've got a solid video here. You just need to add a few more improvements, which take a lot of time. I mean, obviously, I'm nitpicking on some of this stuff. And yeah, they do this thing here. For some reason, the character inside that has done the animation previously is actually not present in the ship now, but he was when they launched the bomb the first time. So I don't understand why he wouldn't be there the second time. Then this one, this character crouched there. I would have just instead made them run away and maybe do that with a bug as well in the scene. And then the bomb drops, and obviously the explosion occurs. But this scene here is not necessarily a mirror of what happened in the previous scene when there were the bugs, because the character quickly goes towards the bomb as opposed to what he did before, where he was still talking and contemplating on it. But then obviously you've repeated the scene here with the ship going up, and that's fine. But it's just, again, a bit more on the execution side there. So I think that just to sum it up, beginning quite okay, quite well. Just some things change. Middle feels like the assets have taken a big hit, but then you had a really good sequence of the shit of all the modular buildings coming down, and then here in the third act, your biggest problem is just your characters. Too much exposition on their part for dialogue, and not enough movement that would more relate to what people would do in real life. Yeah, as I said, I would recommend you going and have a looking at the videos from William Fawcett on using DaVinci Resolve for color grading and bloom and stuff like that. I wouldn't do this in Unreal Engine. Stay away from bloom in Unreal Engine. Stay away from lens flares. Do those in post. Do them in DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere or stuff like that. He's got some wonderful videos on that topic. Look at the video of how he made the cabin from Lofferton. He goes through a lot of details there, quite useful. But other than that, I think, as I said, it might feel like I've said a lot of negative things about the video. And that's because when I give feedback, honestly, you wouldn't want feedback where I just praise you, but I don't really believe it. Or, I'm going to praise you on things that are really worth mentioning. And what's worth mentioning is that you've got some really solid camera movements and mechanical movements of your ships. Just the camera movements in when you were traversing through that canyon. Again, they weren't bad. They were just not something that I would have gone with. You've done really good at putting all these together, making all these systems work together, creating a cohesive environment and scene. Give or take, as I said, space doesn't necessarily fit with what's on the ground, but that's a bit different. I think the environments themselves work together. You have the story that's cohesive, actually a bit too cohesive. Like I've said, there's just too much emphasis on explaining to the audience what's going on. I think the assets that you've used are you've used the best. You've used them in the best way that you could. And I do believe that when you made this video, you had you got some better assets towards the end of it. I think I don't know, but that's how it feels. Like you got some better assets for certain scenes than what you had at the start. But that's pretty much my feedback. Congratulations on this. It doesn't matter if you got picked or not for the Minerva challenge. The important thing here is that you've learned, you've grown, you've not been doing this for very long, and you've already got a very good product. I believe your next project will be at least twice as good as this, because you've already learned so many things by doing this. You've got a pipeline, you've got a workflow. Just study a bit more, and everything is an investment. So at the end of the day, some things will look better even if you just put in some money into some better assets or creating some more. But one thing that I will say is it will take you far longer, far more time, and in essence money at the same time, even though you're not actually paying anything. It will take you far more time to create assets that you could outright buy if they're good enough. So always look for good enough assets to do this stuff. I know you've said you were working on another project, another space scene project, so good luck with that. Have a look at some of my assets, contact me directly, and I might be able to provide you with some freebies, because I like what you've done and I feel like you will do even better. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that feedback. There's quite a few positives, there's quite a few negatives, but the negatives are things that I think by default won't be there in your next project. So yeah, congratulations, and let me know how this develops. Cheers.